Hey guys, I was like, what can I talk about that will not take that much long? I mean, it will take longish, but I was just like, this was one that I really didn't know what I was going to talk about. And that's a shocker because I always know what I'm going to talk about on here. But I am going to talk about Camp Rock. Obviously, also Camp Rock and 2. I was in a very nostalgic place as of late. Um, I think exactly. I was watching Camp Rock and I forgot what other movie that I watched recently again. Lots of rewatches, which is again not good. I've spoken about that on here before. Rewatches are not good. You need to watch new movies, okay? You need to watch a new movie. Watch a new movie a month. I don't know. I'm like, literally, if there's a way to do it, watch a new movie a month. That's what you should say. And then really, if you want, yeah, you can schedule old movies or you like all year round. Do you know what I mean? If you feel like it. But that should be your routine. Anyways. So Camp Rock, Disney Channel. I think oh yeah, no, I was streaming it. I was streaming the movie. And then obviously I think the best place actually for me to start off is about Camp Rock 3 because Camp Rock 3 is on the horizon and I really don't want them to butcher it because they always do. Like I'm actually gonna be very heavily upset. And I think like I just hate that a lot of new stuff nowadays are not really marketed at the people who it's for. Like as in people who grew up on it, it's not really for us. Like people, for example, right? People will look at me funny if I went to go and see Super Mario Galaxy, right? I am 23 years old, so what? But first of all, I'm like, you guys, the children, yeah, who are watching the movie, you weren't there. Like, I was playing Super Mario Bros. When I was like 12 years old, and I also played Super Mario Galaxy as well on the Wii. And then exactly, if you say to a child today, what's Wii? They don't know. They don't even know what the Nintendo Wii is. Like they really don't know. So it's like this movie's actually for me, not you. I find that so weird. Like, and I think a lot of them are. Like I know this sounds weird, but generally I do think a lot of them are. Like you might think in my head, like of what I'm saying right now, is that no, Shania, like these are kids' movie, they're marketed at children, but I'm like they weren't there when I was though. Like they weren't born, they weren't even a fully fledged, like they weren't even a like cell. They weren't even that. They literally just they were non-existent. So I'm literally like you can't complain or say anything because again, it's for me. It's actually mine. And even one thing I'll say about Super Mario Galaxy actually before we obviously move on to Camp Rock is I have no complaints with the movie. I feel like I saw on YouTube some people were talking about the movie saying it wasn't all that great, but I just really had no complaints because again, like, it had a lot of the stuff like that is from the game, and then I mean, yeah, from the game. So really, I was like, oh, I'm not really that upset. Do you get what I mean? It's literally a game that I grew up on, and I was like, I couldn't find any faults, and I saw a lot of the worlds from the games as well. Like obviously they showed the desert one and also the casino. So I was like, okay, like what else? I was like, literally, this is what the inner child, like my inner child needed to see. So I was really like, what more can I say? But obviously, my whole point is why I've been bringing this like whole thing up. Yeah, it's because I think with Camp Rock 3, it's just gonna look like it's gonna just look like very cringe. Like it's gonna have all of that. It's just gonna ooze a lot of cringiness, and it's gonna be like how when I started watching or tried watching, what was it? Wizard of Waverly Place. When I tried to watch the Wizard of Waverly Place reboot, it was so bad. Like, obviously they had it. She was like Alex's. At first, I don't know. They didn't introduce her as Alex's daughter. I don't think. Also, again, I don't know if that's a spoiler actually, but I don't think that they said she was. And then obviously, like, she was basically just like Alex. And then you had Justin's kids who were just like him. And well, hold on, actually, all three of them were basically just the younger versions of Alex, Justin, and Max. And I was like, why did you guys do this? We want something new. I don't want you to tell me the same story with like a different set. That's what they like doing, and I think they're probably going to do that with Camp Rock 3 also. It will literally be the same thing. Like, I think obviously the storyline will go like this. Let me even explain it. I think it will be like, yes, the Jonas Brothers, they'll be there, they'll be working at Camp Rock, and then there'll be obviously all these new kids to come in, and then they'll be coaching them, they'll do all that great stuff. But then I feel like what I'm saying to you guys, they'll also probably have a storyline which is similar to, I don't know, they'll have probably a storyline maybe that's similar to Nick, plus they'll also have a storyline that's similar to Shane. You know what I mean? I just think that people, when they do reboots, all these type of stuff, they want it to just be the same story in a different way. Like, I don't really know. That is literally the way that they do it. It's their classic way. They're like, let's tell the story, but let's do it a different version, just still the same. I feel like they're gonna have like a young Demi for sure. Like, I meant not even like, oh, a young Demi, but I mean somebody who resembles Mitchie. You know, that is literally what they're gonna do. And then I bet you they'll have that whole little, sorry, I'm kind of cringing out, but they'll have that whole little, like, little plot thing where Shane will be like, do you know, you remind me of somebody. And then also then they probably might also invite Demi Lovato back as well. And they'll do that. And that will literally be the storyline of the show. And yes. Or, well, I don't know. Is it a show or is it a movie? I'm not too sure. But again, I think actually no, it's a series movie, because that's obviously what that's what the movies were. I mean, so that's what it's going to be. And I mean, hey, I think this is what I mean. I just said to you guys, oh, I hope they don't butcher it, but they probably will. I will try to tune into it, but there's literally like, there's no promises, because I don't think that they will ever like top the first ones, like the original ones. They won't be able to top the original ones. Now, on the subject of the original ones, let's refresh. So Camp Rock follows Mitchie, who obviously goes to Camp Rock, and she's really excited, and then she starts out there and she's like, oh, what's it called? I don't want to... Oh, she starts there, and I guess she just wants to be liked, which is so normal. Do you know what I mean? She just wants to be liked, and she doesn't tell people that her mum works in the kitchen. So then she comes up with this like elaborate, elaborate storyline where she's like, oh yeah, my mom knows the president, or something like that, something along those lines. It's literally something like that. And she's like, yeah, and then this, that, and the third. She says all of that, right? Then also she's also she wants to get into music, and like she's writing her own music and stuff like that, but she's not really like going ahead and like performing it, or she doesn't really have the confidence to perform it, type thing. But yeah, I was like, she was still trying to like make her own music and obviously sing her own songs, but like the whole time, of course, she was just like, I don't even know. She was hiding from Shane, innit? It was a bit like, I feel like Camp Rock very much reminds me of like, well, yes, Cinderella story, kind of, because in a way, the whole thing with Cinderella story was the guy actually knew Sam the entire time. It's not that he didn't know who she was. She was literally right under his nose all of the time. He just didn't know who she actually was. And like, that's the same with this movie as well, because again, they were both at Camp Rock together, and then they were even speaking, and then again, he didn't know her voice or whatever, or he didn't know the song that he was trying to find or whatever, and he didn't know that she sang it, and it was just like, oh, okay, but like, whatever. I mean, I do understand it to a certain degree, because again, you don't see Mitchie You don't see her sing in the first movie, I guess, like at all, aside from the end. Like, I mean, like, you don't see her do that. So I guess it's like her secret was obviously kept for, like, again, most of the movie. And I just mean that's why, right, they string it out for that long. Then they have the nice finale bit at the end, everyone's singing, yay. Everyone's singing, hooray. Shane is singing with her, and then who else is? Yeah, Shane is singing. Then they do they sing Camp Rock, I think. Yeah, they do. And they sing Camp Rock, which is a great song. And then also, I think when I was just rewatching it again, they have that scene at the end as well. And I didn't actually know that, but I didn't remember it very well. Maybe I did see it, I just didn't remember. But they have that scene at the end, which is like, I guess it's all of the girls singing. Yeah, they have this little song at the end where they all sing together. And that was quite good too, actually, if I'm honest. That was very good as well. They probably should have had more scenes like that, like in movie. It's literally like how, I guess people who are fans of Twilight will be like, why didn't they give us True Bella, They kind of, what's the word? They like, down, I don't know, they made her personality really like muted down type thing, but they never really showed us what we needed to see. We just had her be like I don't even know, like just classic damsel in distress type thing. That's what they had her pegged as, and it was just like, but that's so weird. Like it just, yeah, it was just, I didn't get it. But again, back to Mitchie. And again, the whole movie is so weird. So I feel like Camp Rock is a fever dream. It's a good movie though. Bear in mind, it's a good movie. I'm not saying it isn't. But again, it does have a lot of like, what do you call it? Like cringe moments and everything like that. It does have a lot of that, because especially there's always that scene everyone talks about, which is the one where the one, I mean, whatever Major Loser, and then also what's the other one as well? There's also another one. There's also, so like when they're like, oh my gosh, she's so good, and it's like, oh, you see in that scene she's barely even touching the keyboard keys. She's basically not even really like touching them. And then that's just like, I think it's interesting because you really do ignore a lot of things when you're younger. I mean, like when you're watching movies, you literally are just like you're just like, I'm just gonna ignore that. I'm just gonna close my eyes. I'm not even gonna focus on it really. And then, oh my gosh, and then Camp Rock has such a lot of good songs in it. Like obviously the last song with Shane and Mitchie, but then there's also what's that song called? Is it Play My Music, exactly. I just want to play my music. I like that song. And then I also like then their other song that they do in Camp Rock 2, which is Heart and Soul, exactly. If you got heart and soul. So yeah, and the Jonas Brothers are great. I feel like, exactly, they're great. I feel like it's funny because I've actually always been a Jonas Brothers fan, I guess, ever since those movies. I mean, so that's just like, those movies, I just love them even more. But it's also, okay, at the same time, I want to have another viewpoint. I think to myself, do they need to do Camp Rock 3? That's the big question, because that is the question you ask yourself with most reboots. Do they need to happen? I feel like, I don't know, people were also talking about the Peaky Blinders movie, and I feel like maybe people weren't necessarily also receiving that quite well and being like, oh yeah, did the Peaky Blinders movie need to happen? So that's, again, another question for this too. Yeah, for this as well, because it's literally just like, it's just like, is it necessary? And the Jonas Brothers, I'm just like, that's what I mean. I always think about, like, do they really, like, need it? I think they're just doing it to just, reignite people's, like, nostalgia. Like, do you know what I mean? So, like, kind of like Hannah Montana doing the 20th anniversary special is literally just as a way to, like, I guess, say, are there people who still are fans of the movies and like, oh yeah, do they want to see more? But the fact of the matter is, I just feel like, yeah, they're not really bothered about us though, mainly because if they were, they would know what we want from another movie if we do want one. That's what I'm saying. I mean, like, I think it's like, yeah, we want to see a lot of the old people, but I don't think we really want, like, you know, a new set of people, if that makes sense. That's just me though. Like, I feel like maybe people who are Camp Rock fans, maybe they might feel like, yeah, they do want new people, but I don't. It would be like, exactly, it would be like if High School Musical did another movie, which would obviously be High School Musical 4. Yeah, it would be like that. If they did High School Musical 4, you'd want to see Troy and Gabriella and Sharpay and Brian, and you'd want to see all those people. But you wouldn't want to see, like, some random people that, like, yeah, exactly, who you don't know anything about. So that's again why I was saying in the beginning that Camp Rock 3 is just not, I feel like, again, it's not really for the old fans, but for the newer generation, for them to be introduced to Camp Rock, not really us, who have known about it for years and have loved it for a really long time. But yeah, that's just me though. And that's why, again, like I said to you guys, it's kind of a coin flip for me, because do I know if I'll be tuning in or not? I really don't. I feel like it probably ends on, yeah, the thing of me not probably watching it. But no, actually, I think, okay, I said I'll give it a go, because like when I said to you guys about Wizards of Waverly Place, I can only give it a go, I can't really say, that, yeah, say, like, bang on, like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna watch it. I can't like say that, like, matter of factly, or be like, oh, I know that's gonna happen, because I really don't. I'm actually like, it's like, yeah, well, have a look, like, I'll actually have a peek, but if I'm not enjoying it, then I'll obviously stop, because that's what I will say. Like, I really did try my best with the Wizards of Waverly reboot too. Like, I watched at least hey, like, maybe one or two, I feel, and maybe halfway into episode 1, either or, and that's good enough. Like, so many other people, when they give up on a show, hello, they're like 10 minutes done, finish. Me, I was like, yeah, let's give this a little longer, maybe it will pick up. I guess I'm the type to do that anyway, actually, with a lot of things. I mean, I'm like, oh yeah, it's the waiting game, let's see if it picks up, let's see if our feelings change, and then, if they don't, then that's one of those things. But at least I can say that I tried to do it. I tried to do it and I failed, but again, I still tried, so that's enough. Oh yeah, even the description for Camp Rock says that. It says a teenage girl is thrilled to join a prestigious summer Camp Rock, but makes up stories by herself to be accepted by the exclusive clique. But she didn't even need to do all that. That's what's so crazy. And then, oh my gosh, something that I love about Camp Rock is that they obviously let the girl, they let Peggy win, exactly, from, the trio that was obviously that little group, with, what's her name? Yeah, with Tess, so in that little group, and I was like, yeah, she deserved to win, and I was like, good, because that's what I mean. I thought that they weren't gonna do that, you know what I mean, because she sang that great song, which was, Here I Am, so it was like, she deserved to get that award, and I knew she was gonna get it, actually, because that song is amazing. Like, I'm probably even gonna listen to that, like, after I finish the episode. That's the song I'm gonna listen to, because obviously Here I Am is such a powerful song, and I guess I feel like for so many reasons. I mean, like, especially for the reason why Peggy Rat sang the song was because she felt like she was in the back and she wasn't being paid attention to. So again, I feel like it's a very much outcast song. Do you know what I mean? Where you feel like nobody really sees you, but like obviously you're making a statement. Do you know what I mean? By saying that, like, I'm here and I want to be taken seriously. To say, like, is it easy to pick one out of the two though? Because obviously I mentioned High School Musical earlier, but is it easy to say which one is better? I mean, they're both, yeah, they're both equally good. But then again, like, you know, one is a campsite and the other is a secondary school. So it's a bit like, you know, and I don't know. And also like, yeah, just I feel like um when I think about it, like High School Musical, yeah, High School Musical's not really like, I wouldn't say it's, yeah, when you think of like 2000s, just again, teen nostalgia, I wouldn't really say that like, um, what do you call it? The High School Musical is really like cringe. Like, I guess in terms of that era and that television, I wouldn't really say High School Musical is cringe because I feel like when I think about the moments in that movie, yeah, like I don't know. I mean, that just maybe my experience, but I don't know if there's a lot of like cringe moments. But of course, you can say with Camp Rock there is, you know. And then obviously Camp Rock was what 2008, and then the first House School was 2006, you know. But that's what's so interesting. Camp Rock is obviously, yeah, Camp Rock is 2 years after that. Do you know what I mean? And I guess I think that that's good how they did that. I mean, in terms of like, oh, like, okay, they came out with one musical, let's flesh out another one. You know, let's give another one. And then also, you know, it's Camp Rock and it's rocking. And oh, you know, it's so interesting because when I was also rewatching the second movie as well, I was literally like, I really couldn't decide between the two which one is better as well. Because I always do feel like that's a very interesting conversation to have in terms of when there's like trilogy movies. So when you have like, you know, the Twilight movies, for example, and how obviously there's what's it, three, four, five of them, right? And then you're like, which one is the best one? For me, I always say that my favorite, and then I guess second favorite is like, my favorite is Twilight, and then obviously my second favorite is New Moon. And that's weird also though, because that's them right next to each other, you know. But then of course, actually, I'd also say honorable mention for the Twilight movies would be Eclipse as well. You know, so again, if I would like to be like, oh yeah, pick one more, I would say Eclipse. The rest, they're all great, but again, you really do think about which ones are your favorites. And then again, obviously I really like Camp Rock, but I feel like as I've gotten older, it's probably two. Like, that's what's so strange. Like, I think obviously it used to be one when I was younger, but it's not one now. Like, I guess with two, I don't know, like with two, there's just more, I don't know. I was gonna say there are more songs. I guess maybe there's equally amount of songs. We can even check that, you know, while we're here. I mean, there's just literally like, is there more songs in one or the other? Not really. But like, it's just like, for me, I would literally say it's number two. Also because, yeah, I also feel like with two, we're obviously met with like all these issues that Shane and Mitchie are having, right? Because we don't really obviously get to see them together in one, obviously, all that much, because again, you have that whole finale scene and that's it. And then obviously, yeah, then their relationship's just thrown in the air because obviously we don't know what's going to happen next with them. So then obviously Camp Rock 2 then follows with them obviously trying to date and have time for each other, and we obviously see like the complexities with that, you know. That's why again it's like so interesting to me. And then obviously I like the song that they sing as well, which is I Wouldn't Change a Thing. And also, You're My Favorite Song as well. Like, obviously, there was so many. You have exactly. They do at least 2 duets in that movie. Like, or is it even 3? Like, it's either 2 or 3. Because actually, yes, if you also include the performance, then it's probably 3. So that's what I mean. I feel like, again, it's just, I don't know, it's more quality maybe, and more like variety. So that's again why I guess out of the 2, it would be my favorite. And then if we're talking about yeah, this one's a bit tricky. If we're talking about High School Musical, I would say for me, I would say it's interesting, right? Because it's so interesting because again, I feel like all the High School Musical movies are great, and again, you could just say all 3 are your favorites, right? But then, for me, maybe okay. How about this? I'll do this a different way, where like a ranking list, right? I would say High School Musical 2, then High School Musical 1, and then 3. So that's what I mean. If I was to do, if that would be my list, like in terms of ranking them as the 3 movies. High School Musical 2 is just great. Like, do you know what I mean? I just mean like High School Musical 2 is such a great movie. Because again, you know, it's all that summer stuff. And then yeah, I've got to go my own way. And like, let's not even get started. Let's not even get started on Gabriella. Do you know what I mean? If we start talking about Gabriella, we're gonna be here all day. we're actually gonna be here all day. And in terms of I guess Disney female characters, as far as they go, yeah, like Gabriella's something else. I mean, obviously when I said about Mitchie, she's obviously like, you know, complex in her own way. But like I said, I understand hers to a certain degree because she was embarrassed that her mum was working in the kitchen. So I'm like, I get it, even though she didn't need to be. I always think that with Mitchie anyways. She didn't like necessarily need to be ashamed because this was generally like, it was literally a campsite place. Like, you guys are doing camping. Like, think about that. You're doing camping. Why do you need to act like, you know, you're a snob somewhat, or you're in some prestigious place? You're outside. Like, you're actually outside. You're outside amongst all the bees in the trees. Like, I don't know what's going on and why you think that you need to, like, conceal or hide that. It's not that serious. Like, that's what I mean. I think with Mitchie, that's my issue with her, right? In terms of, I guess, in terms of disguising and like lying goes, yeah, in terms of all of that, as far as that goes, I'm like, no. But then with Gabriella, exactly, hers is just like, she was always ready to go, like all the time. You know, she never seemed comfortable ever. And what's crazy is she's the one that came to that town, you know? Troy was already there. So like Gabriella came in, new girl, fresh on the block, and then obviously she came there and she was like, you know what? I actually don't want to be here. She was like, actually, I don't want to be at this school, to be honest. So I feel like every single movie, I'm going to cry about wanting to leave. Like, actually, every single one. And then also she's gonna, you know, somewhat be angry at Troy in, again, every single movie. Like, I mean, like, I feel like exactly. Number 1, she's angry at him for, what's it called? Oh, yeah, for being the classic... what was it? Like, popular guy, basketball, whatever. She's upset at him for doing that. Then in number 2, she's upset with him for, like, I guess, was it hanging out with Sharpay or whatever? And then obviously because Sharpay wanted Troy, and then obviously she was annoyed that, like, he was indulging it. Remember, she was at Sharpay, oh yeah, what's the prize? Troy? She was like, he's not the prize. She's like, you don't need to do that. You know, at least that's what I mean. I think people always talk about that scene as well. At least she knows her self-worth. She was like, he's actually not that great. He's like, he's not that great. You don't need to be doing all of that. It's not necessary. So I think that's important anyways. Because I feel like exactly, even in the first movie, even when she knew she was liking him, yeah, she was still semi-prioritizing herself. You can at least say that about Gabriella. We said at least she's real. You know, at least she doesn't like, what's the word? yeah, like remove any of her dignity or her pride, I guess, over a man, because a lot of them usually do. Like, you know, at least she's not like, you know, pining over them and then being like, oh, because that's what she could have done, you know, with the whole Sharpay and Troy thing. She could have been like, oh, like, I guess being like all weird about it, but she, you know, she stood back and she did her thing, really. And then obviously Troy was upset for her, like he was upset that she was reacting that way. We were like, what? We were like, what do you mean? Like, this is weird. And then, oh, and then I think the last movie, bro, like the last movie, I don't even know. Like, I think with the last movie, I don't know why she was upset with him. I feel like actually no. The last movie I guess actually was more to do with their futures and to do with the fact that she didn't, I guess she felt like they were on two separate pages. That's all. That's a bit normal though. Like the last movie I feel right makes more sense just in terms of like her being like, oh yeah, I'm with Troy, but it's like, are we gonna be nearby each other, you know, do we have the same goals, do we want the same things? I get all of that. I actually get all that, but the first two movies is a bit like, yeah. The first two movies is like you're actually doing a bit too much. Like you actually yeah. And I think people will talk about Gabriella in that way. That's why I said if I spoke about Gabriella, we were gonna be here for a little hot minute, because because I'm just like, yeah, people say like she is very much like what's the word? Yeah, she's just very complex. You know, when I think about it though, at least she gave us some really, really good songs, you know? She gave us some really fantastic songs. You've got, yeah, Gotta Go My Own Way. You've got number two. Wait, hold on. No, sorry. Number one, when there was me and you. Number two is Gotta Go My Own Way. And number three is um I forget what number three is. Hold on. It's gonna come to me. Oh, number three is Walk Away, which, to be honest, I feel like is actually might be my favorite, actually. Which is surprising that you guys would think so, maybe. Like, in terms of how, you know, Gotta Go My Own Way is actually, I guess, Gotta Go My Own Way is the iconic one, the one that everyone knows. But, like, as I said, I feel like Walk Away is just one of my favorites, I guess. And she's like, I don't want to have to say, she's like, I don't want to have to say goodbye all over again. Not again. This is exactly, she's like, I guess that one is more like she's fighting her feelings. But then again, she's fighting her feelings in all three. You know, exactly. In all three of those songs, she's fighting her feelings because she was literally like, oh, yeah, I think I also obviously, yeah, I like when there was me and you, because again, like she obviously just she thought, yeah, that they were moving forwards, and obviously, you know, she saw him do that whole like prank thing on the computer. So, you know what's so crazy in terms of like what right now where we're at in terms of comparing both movies? Yeah, like I just feel like, remember, Camp Rock just has that whole like exactly has that whole lying thing, right? And then obviously Shane's just like, well, why would you lie? And then he's like, oh, you know how hard it is for me or whatever. I think he was like, oh, because he's a pop star, and he was like, oh, like he was like, oh, you know, people try to get close to me just because I'm Shane Gray. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, if he was full of himself though, because he says that he said he was Shane Gray twice in that movie. Not once, but twice. He said it to his brothers, and then afterwards, then he said it to her, because he was like, yeah, like people always want to be around the Shane Gray. And he's like, oh, I thought I could just be myself around you or whatever. And it was like, what? I always sometimes, that reminds me actually also, again, I've spoken about Starstruck on here before. That reminds me of Starstruck as well, because obviously you had You had Christopher, yeah, the main guy in Starstruck, obviously being like, oh, he just wanted to be normal. And we were like, sorry, we were like, sorry, you can't be. You're a star. Like, that's not our fault. Like, you have privilege. Why are you complaining about it? I do think, with Starstruck though, in specific though, as far as as far as pop stars go, I do think his was crazy because obviously his parents were managing him, so that was a bit weird. Like, like at least Shane can say maybe he has some sort of I guess freedom, leeway. Exactly. He was able to go to that campsite and date one of the he was able to date one of the people there. Do you know what I mean? Like, that feels like he shouldn't be able to do that, if that makes sense. But he can. So that's what I'm saying. So, it must not have been in his like contract, but I'm saying, like, we know with Christopher in it, he wasn't allowed to do that stuff because his parents literally controlled his life, and he was always on the TV. He was always on there all the time, and it was just like, oh yeah, he was just like, oh, I can't be normal. So I feel like with his, yeah, you feel more sorry for him, I mean, than you do for Shane, if I'm honest. That's just me. So really, I'd probably pick Christopher out of the two. I mean, just in terms of actually, I meant favorite favorite pop stars, I mean. So yeah. And also, at least you can say actually with Shane, like, because I mean, with Christopher, exactly, he was on the TV being like, oh yeah, I don't know Jessica Olsen. I don't know who that is. And we were like, bear in mind, you were hiding in our house and also in one of our cars. And actually, you also did drown our car as well. So you were like, excuse me. Like, like, you were doing way too much. At least we can say that Shane didn't do all of that stuff. Oh, also, again, back to Camp Rock, the Camp Rock movie. There's also my favorite song by Nick Jonas. And oh my gosh, you know what I haven't even spoke about? Who my favorite Jonas brother is. But it's funny. No. It's funny because, again, yes, it's been either Nick or Joe. Like, yeah. And I'm not really sure what it was when I was younger. It might have been Joe. Yeah, I feel like it might have been Joe. And then as the years went by, it started to turn into Nick. But then again, I feel like right now, I do think it's Nick and Joe. Yeah. I actually do think it's Nick and Joe. And then literally you'll see Joe, obviously, performing all the time. Like, that song. I think you guys know the song I'm talking about. When it's just you and me in the streets, and then something on the right down, like a head top. Like, that's the one. And then that's the one that everyone's been talking about, and he's obviously always performing that song. And then he does this thing where, like, does he like, I think he like growls in the mic or something like that. And then he'll have these really tight pants on. Yeah, I remember one time there was this TikTok I saw where he had super tight pants on, and I was like, what are those? Like, literally, Joe, what are those? So I feel like as he gets older, he just keeps, yeah, he's wearing tighter pants. I don't know why. That's just what he's doing. And then with Nick, yeah, Nick's he's just chill, like, he's just relaxed, like, he doesn't do much. Like, he was on, oh yeah, he was on a podcast recently, I think. Yes, with Jake Shane. So that's what Nick's doing, and like, obviously he's married to Priyanka, and that's it. But I think obviously Joe is single. I think that's why he acts like that. You know what I mean? I was like, oh yeah, that's why he acts like that. In terms of like how he has that like thing. He has that thing, like that number, I mean, that he pulls out all the time. It's a bit like Nick's red dress, you know? You don't really want to hear anyone say red dress rather than like Nick. It has to be Nick. It can't be anybody else. That's why I'm like, I mean, in specific in that bit on that song, on Joe's part, like obviously you want it to be Joe. I'm like, yeah, you want it to be Joe. It can't be any of the others. And then I do quite like, I don't know. It's interesting because I don't really feel like, when it just comes in terms of like brothers and then also just bands, I feel like, they're all great individually, but again, again, you have your favorites and that's the main goal. And then I guess actually you can also say, in comparison with Camp Rock and 2, is that I guess in Camp 2, like more stuff happens. So there, as I said, number 1 is basically Mitchie's dishonesty, and then, do you know what I mean? And then grand reveal and whatever. Wow, great. But then, I mean, Camp Rock 2 is the whole thing of them being at risk of losing their camp. So, do you know what I mean? It's a bit more exciting, it's a bit more fun, it's a bit more vibrant, a bit more dramatic, because you have Mitchie singing, what is it? We Can't Back Down, and it's on as well. And, what's the other one? There's also the other one. And remember they did that song at their performance to try to win the camp. But that song was, hey, I feel like we're old enough to say that like, we're all old enough to say right now that song was not good. It wasn't good. Like, I think it was, what was it? Yeah, it's What You Came Here For or whatever. It wasn't good though. Like, I think when I watched Camp Rock 2 the first time, of course I didn't think they were going to lose because, again, that just doesn't happen very often. And, like, Disney movies as well, they obviously want to flesh out, like, I guess, this kind of idea that, like, nothing bad happens. So, like, I meant they do that. So I was a bit like, oh yeah, I thought they were going to win, but obviously they lost. But then I always still also assess it like, I started coming to the realization that they were never going to win because I feel like their camp was so like, it was so traditional. And I think that's obviously again what the message of the movie is supposed to be. Like their camp was so traditional, had all these like old ways. And then again, the guy who obviously opened up the other camp, his was all glossy and like, they had like, I think, did they have better boats? Yeah, but okay, they just had better things. They just were like an upgraded version of that camp. And I think it's all about getting with the times. So I think that's what it is. I think that I find that like very interesting that, it's all about getting with the times and the importance of that. And that really when it just comes to it, we're just like, yeah, Camp Rock were never going to win. They literally weren't. And that's okay. Like, they are good, individually. And then also when they sing that song in the movie, in the second movie when they sing, This Is Our Song, right? And I'm literally like, that song reminds you again why, that you love that camp, because, it's, yeah, they're all so special and they love one another and it's great. And then all the fireflies come out and everything, and yeah, it's a really nice special moment, if I'm honest, but still. But let me know in the comments if you will be tuning into Camp Rock 3 and, well, what are you excited to see? If, like, that's what I mean. If it's, like, how you'd want it. But thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.